and
Yeah.
thousands of people die.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Let me point that out because when you
and
hear about
then
this in the news, that's where people die from these infections. It's not because that the food itself is necessarily toxic. It's because it's an artifact, a side effect of the entire food production system that's giving these antibiotics, is causing these antibiotic resistant strains, producing these fatal infections in tens of thousands of individuals, dying needlessly because of the system.
yep, and it's not, you know, there is in the food supply now. I mean, these bugs are not even only coming through animals. It's also coming on vegetables, on salads, because those are grown in factory farm under filthy conditions, and then they come pre-washed and in plastic boxes, and people don't even, and they call it farm to fork safety. And people bring these plastic boxes to the table. They don't even wash. It's pre-cut salads, spinach, tomatoes, you name it, broccoli, whatever. And it comes pre-cut, pre-washed, and people bring it to the table. People have become so lazy, so dependent on companies. They think everything is safe because it's government approved. And then there are hundreds of thousands of pounds of beef recalls, chicken burger recalls, and then now salad recalls. How can you get salmonella on chilies, jalapenos? I mean, those bugs shouldn't be surviving, but that's what's happening. And then you got listeria, and people in Canada a year or so ago, 22 people died from listeria infection from eating the meat, the processed meats. And then the company comes out, Maple Leaf, and apologizes that, oh, we are good corporate citizens. And people are feeling sorry for the company. And then they're saying, well, we won't be able to prevent it forever. So therefore, Health Canada should set a standard of how many listeria can you swallow without getting sick. This is the kind of regulation, manipulation that is going on in the United States, in Canada, and the rest of the. This is how the food is so toxic. Now, antibiotics, you raised the point, are given for two reasons, or at least so it is claimed, but ultimately it's the same reason. One is for growth promotion. They're saying healthy bacteria living in the gut of the animals steal some food. And if we give them, if we put them on tetracyclines and other antibiotics for life, then that food will be used by the animal to grow bigger and fatter and faster. And so therefore, that's one. It's called non-therapeutic use. It's only a technical difference. Then there is therapeutic use. And therapeutic use, the companies say, and the governments accept, is to prevent disease. You can't disease which is not there. What are you trying to prevent? It's like doing surgery, dirty surgery, and keep people under antibiotic control, under antibiotic cover. And so these are other problems. So ultimately, it comes to the same thing. Then there are hormones. Hormones are given as, once again, for growth stimulation. At one time, they were giving it to all food producing animals, and then it was banned for chicken. And one hormone, diethylstilbestrol or DES, was banned in 1973. And then they turned around and approved another one. And then more, and in the same time, within the same year, virtually. And then in the 80s, they even approved implantable hormones, which are injected and left in the behind the ears of beef cattle for life. And these hormones cause cancer, and they're demonstrated to cause cancer. And then
So,
and they're
point of
saying, well,
clarification: did they cause cancer in the animals receiving them, or in the humans consuming the animal food, or both?
no, animals don't live long enough to get cancer. Animals are slaughtered and eaten, but in their meats there are leftover hormones. Some of them are synthetic hormones, and they have been proven to be complete carcinogens. In other words, they can initiate a new cancer, or they can promote an existing cancer. They'll do both. And therefore, they're called complete carcinogens. And they are in the food supply. If something is a carcinogen, you cannot determine the safe limit for such a product, because a single molecule of such a product can attach to a single cell in the body, and if it's done on a daily basis for life, it can trigger and promote cancer. So therefore, it takes a long time to develop, and the governments are saying, well, there's no proof that it causes cancer. How are you going to get proof? Unless there are lifetime studies, and lifetime studies in animals have not been done, and they're not allowed to be done. And the governments are not asking for them. That's one thing where hormones are used for extra weight in beef. Hormones are also used in factory farming operations for convenience of bringing all animals in heat on the same day so that they can impregnate them by artificial insemination. So you give hormones to animals, and those are called, once again, they call them therapeutic uses. They call this part as though the animal is sick. The animal is not sick. It comes in heat when it needs to, when it wants to, when nature permits it. No, they induce estrus or heat, and so they can impregnate them, all of them, all at once on the same day by artificial insemination. This is no therapeutic use. So it's like the humans using the HRT and then discovering many years later that those hormones cause breast cancer and uterine cancer and so on. And it's the same thing in animals. And then when the animals are slaughtered, the ears are cut off and the hormones are implanted behind the ears. Ears are cut off and they are all ground up, and you turn that into soft candy and gelatin, and that comes into yogurt and your ice cream and so on. So concentration of hormones are getting indirectly into the food system and confectionery and whatnot. So there we have that. A third item, when animals are slaughtered.
Let me just mention here too, and emphasize as I did earlier, that this is, the more you're sharing, the more obvious it becomes of the absolute importance of selecting organic food, as much organic food as possible, because for the most part, and I'm sure there's some exceptions because of the perversion of the system, but these organic foods are going to be free of these ingredients, and you're going to get back to a wholesome food supply. It's more expensive, but in the long run, it clearly is worth it, because not only would allow us as consumers to vote with our pocketbooks and induce these organizations to produce food that's free of these chemicals and antibiotics and hormones, but it will also work for our best long-term safety.
I will, in fact, quite elaborately speak about it in a few minutes, and then the way I'm talking, there will be no cost increase, and all food will automatically become organic. There will be no other way. I will speak about that when we start talking about what can people do, what are the solutions to this problem. But let's go back for a moment to a third item. We've talked about hormones, we've talked about antibiotics. A third item is the rendered slaughterhouse waste. Due to factory farm operations for just growth, crops and animals, now we also have humongous slaughterhouses. The ordinary butchers are gone. In the beginning, there used to be butcher shops, and then when large grocery stores were made, there used to be a section in each of them. There used to be local butchers. You picked up the local meat, and if you wanted special cuts, they would come to you. They say, well, we'll cut it and make it the way you want it, and we'll wrap it to you and give it here. Or you want to buy bulk, we'll give you more. If you want just chicken breast, we'll give you chicken breast. If you want a certain cut of beef, they'll give you that. Pork chops, they'll give you that. Now you go to grocery stores, none of that exists. There is no such thing. It's all pre-packaged, coming from packing plants, and it's sitting there, take it or leave